What's up, everybody? Welcome back in to the Philly Sports Power Hour. I'm Bill Colarulo. Good to see everybody on this Friday. So I just checking X to make sure there's nothing else going on. It's been constant. Just keep hitting the refresh, waiting for some stuff to happen here. But wow. So Wesley Steinberg just tweets out, Giants owner John Mara broke down in tears when he found out that Saquon Barkley was signing for the Eagles. You know what? I'm calling BS on that. You know why I'm calling BS on that? Because the Giants had how many opportunities to re-sign this guy? How many opportunities? You drafted him in the first round. Hold on, I'm getting a little Okay, Xander Krause is telling me, my producer's saying that he always tweets a lot of BS. And I'm saying it is probably BS because, Crowley's saying the same thing. Because the reason it would be BS to me is they had plenty of opportunities. You drafted the guy in the first round, which means when you draft somebody in the first round, not only do you have him for your 4-year rookie deal, there's a 5th-year option. That's what we're seeing right now with Devontae Smith. That's why I'm telling people, relax. I know they want to extend Devontae, but they have him this year. They'll exercise his 5th-year option. They have until May 2nd to do that. So you'll have him next year as well, but they'll get a deal done. The reason why Landon Dickerson was important was because this was the true final year of his deal because he was a 2nd-round draft pick. But you look at Saquon Barkley, they had him for his 4-year rookie deal. He wanted a new contract. They didn't give it to him. They exercised his 5th-year option. Like a good soldier, he plays on his 5th-year option. Gives it his all. Wants a new deal, they don't give it to him. They franchise tag him. Now he's given you 6 years of his NFL life. And as a running back, that's an eternity. It's like dog years for running backs because we know their careers don't usually last long. So he's given you 6 years, and you still didn't give him his big deal. So that's why Tiki Barber coming out and saying, you're dead to me, is so ridiculous. Because what did you want this guy to do? He gave you 6 years of his NFL life, and you never gave him that big payday. He laid it all out on the line. Was a great leader, from my understanding, was great for the community, left it all on the field, and that's how you treated him. And now he's supposed to feel bad for leaving? So I didn't agree with Tiki Barber one bit on that one. But let's talk. We were talking about Devin White before the break, and I see some people who are checking in late are asking me what my opinion is of it. So just quick summary, because we spent about a half hour already on Devin White. My summary of the deal is this. I'm not angry at the move. I understand the move. He's got a lot of potential. He's still young. He's an elite athlete, and it is a low-risk, high-reward move because you've only signed him to a 1-year deal. So I get all of that. However, it is still a major question mark on this team. The linebacker position is still a question mark because we don't know what we have in Nakobe Dean. We don't know what you're going to get in Devin White because as well as maybe he played in 2020 when they won the Super Bowl, he has struggled in every area outside of pass rush. He struggles in pass coverage. He struggles in tackling. He struggles against the run. He's over-aggressive at times. I've also even heard he needs to be motivated at times. So my concern is that you have another question mark. I wanted a sure thing at linebacker. Now, maybe a change of scenery, new coaching will get Devin White playing at an elite level, but we just don't know. It's another could be, just like Nakobe Dean is a could be. Ben Van Sumeren is a major could be. Ben Van Sumeren is a probably not type of guy. So I still wanted to see a sure thing at linebacker, a game-changing type of linebacker. Now, here's the issue, and this is why I'm not angry at the move. There are no free agents currently available that fit that mold, that are sure things, in my opinion. And we could make the argument how we should have paid Patrick Queen or went out and got Frankie Louvu or even one of these older guys, but it didn't happen. So for me, I would like to see Howie Roseman figure out how to trade for one of those linebackers. And I don't know who's available. I'm sure Howie Roseman knows because all these GMs talk, and figure out a way to maybe pry a young linebacker away from another team. And the way you could do that is similar to the way the Eagles got A.J. Brown. You have a linebacker who's maybe entering the final year of his rookie deal, the final year of his 4-year rookie contract that we just talked about. He needs a new deal. Well, maybe you have a team who's not really a contender, who would love the draft capital. And Howie Roseman can swoop in, you make a trade, you get a guy, and you sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal once you get him. I don't know who that is. I don't know who would be available. But if I'm Howie Roseman, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm calling around, and I'm asking who's available. Because I want a sure thing at linebacker, and we just don't have it yet. And I see Breida on TikTok saying to draft the linebacker. Loves Junior Colston from Michigan. And again, we talked about this as well. Any linebacker you draft, and I'm okay with it if they draft a linebacker. I think they should draft a linebacker. But any linebacker you draft is also a question mark. There's no guarantee that a rookie linebacker is going to be able to play at the NFL level. You just don't know. No matter how high you draft them. Case in point, Devin White. The Bucs took him number 5 overall. Do you think they expected a little bit more from Devin White using a top 5 pick on a linebacker? There's no guarantee that the game translates. So any rookie they would draft, no matter who it is, would be a question mark. And I just don't want that many question marks at linebacker. And there's a name that keeps coming up, and Stitch on TikTok says Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Sure. Would love it if they brought him in. But he would also be a question mark. No guarantees for rookie linebackers in this league. So that's how I feel right now. I take a look at the first week of free agency because it is only the first week. And we know Howie Roseman has done some of his best work around the draft, not drafting. That's a big difference. Not necessarily drafting, but trades around the draft. That's when they got A.J. Brown on draft day. They got DeAndre Swift last year on draft day. So that's why I'm staying calm. I'm going to remain patient because the way this team looks right now is not what the final roster will be come August. Moves can be made. They didn't get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson 2 years ago until August. So we talked about this. Ronald Darby was another one in their Super Bowl year. They made that trade. Let me see if I could find it. I got the list of all these moves. They got Ronald Darby also in August that Super Bowl year. August 11th, they made that trade. They got James Bradbury before the 2022 season. Now, I know he played terrible last year, but he played really well 2 years ago. They didn't get him until May. So we have to stay patient. We have to stay calm. I just don't want Howie Roseman to look at the linebackers and say, okay, we're fine now. And I could see them bringing back Zach Cunningham because he hasn't signed anywhere yet. And Howie at his press conference at the Combine, was it the Combine or the end of the year? They're running together now. But Howie Roseman has spoke twice since the season ended. He gave his end of the year press conference and he spoke at the Combine, and he made sure to specifically mention how well Zach Cunningham played. So I could see them bringing him back, but for me, that's just not enough. A linebacker crew of Zach Cunningham, Nakobe Dean, Devin White, and Ben Van Sumeren, that's not enough for me. And maybe I'm being greedy. Maybe I'm asking for too much. It's just we saw this before. We watched it happen last year. We knew going into the season that linebacker was a major question mark, and look how it worked out. So I don't think I'm asking for too much. Great start, Howie. I'm not taking anything away from the start, but I just need more at linebacker. But let's take a look because I asked a question before we went to the break. Is anybody getting Dream Team vibes? Is anyone getting concerned about the Dream Team? Now, interestingly, I was thinking about asking this question today on the show, and I bring my daughter to school every day. And I'm walking into school this morning, and a lot of them know what I do. A lot of them know I do sports talk. And one of the dads comes over to me, and he says, "What do you think of the Devin White signing?" And I told him what I just told you. And his exact words to me, unprompted, "I'm really concerned that this is another Dream Team. I'm really getting Dream Team vibes," he said to me. And I said, "Oh, man, don't say that. I was actually going to ask that question today." He goes, "I'm telling you." He said, I think this is a Dream Team." So I personally don't have those concerns. I don't have those same concerns because I think there were other things at play that year. I think there were other issues that season. Maybe the main issue for me was, do you remember who was named defensive coordinator that season? Let's see if in the chat you remember who they named defensive coordinator the Dream Team year and how the hell that was going to work out. I'm waiting for it. I'm giving you a second in the chat to tell me if you remember who the defensive coordinator was on the Dream Team. And I see Ray Vega on TikTok, Juan Castillo. So that in of itself should have let us know that this wasn't going to be a Dream Team in 2011. That you took an offensive line coach. This is when Andy Reid, when his ego, I think, was just too big. This is why when they made the move, I say I think it was the right time, even though Andy Reid has turned into being maybe the best coach this league has ever seen. It was decisions like we saw in 2011 where his head had just gotten too big. He needed to change the scenery too. Because how Andy Reid could ever think it would be a good idea to take an offensive line coach and make him a defensive coordinator. Not even saying, you know what, we're going to take the offensive line coach and we're going to move him over to the defensive side of the football to coach D linemen. Or we're going to have him coach linebackers because he has some experience with that. No. Let's just promote him to the defensive coordinator role. Not just a defensive coach, the actual coordinator role. So that's how I knew right then and there that things were going to be problems in 2011. I was concerned. But you got excited because of all the names. And let me throw out some of the names from that Dream Team because they made a lot of them. They signed 2 corners that year. And I don't remember, actually, this one may have been a trade. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. I think they traded for him. Let me see. I just want to look. I remember the trade. I want to see who they gave up to get him. So they gave up, that was right, that was the Kevin Kolb trade. So they traded a second-round draft pick and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie for Kevin Kolb. Man, I just gave Andy Reid some flack for making Castillo. But one thing he could do was trade backup quarterbacks, couldn't he? Getting rid of quarterbacks and getting stuff for him. Traded A.J. Feely and got stuff. Traded Donovan McNabb to the Commanders when his career was pretty much over and got stuff. Traded Kevin Kolb and got a second-round draft pick and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. But anyway, so they add Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie to that team. And then they made what I think was probably the worst free agent signing in Philadelphia Eagles history. And I know there's some that rival it. I know Byron Maxwell is one that rivals this. DeMarco Murray is one. But for me, Nnamdi Asomugha. Nnamdi Asomugha is probably the worst free agent signing in Philadelphia Eagles history. Because not only was this guy bad on the field, he was eating lunch in his damn car at the NovaCare complex. Like, just a terrible teammate. And I'm not saying he was a bad guy. It just he came in here, gets a big money deal, A lot of people were upset anyway about that. And then you're not even going to relate to your teammates. You're going to eat lunch in your damn car. So he was not. So they bring in Dominic Rogers-Cromartie, Nnamdi Asomugha, running back Ronnie Brown, offensive lineman Evan Mathis, wide receiver Steve Smith from the New York Giants, which turned out to be a disaster as well. Didn't do anything. And I see people talking about defensive end Jason Babin. And even though Babin had a couple of good seasons as far as getting after the quarterback, he was hated in that locker room. His teammates couldn't stand him. Absolutely hated him. Jason Babin was one. They brought in defensive lineman Cullen Jenkins. And they brought in backup quarterback Vince Young, who was the one who said, dream team. And now listen, I see people saying Evan Mathis wasn't bad. I'm not saying that all of these guys were bad signings. I'm just naming all of the players they brought in that gave us the moniker Dream Team. I liked Evan Mathis. I thought Evan Mathis was really good. I actually liked Cullen Jenkins as well, the defensive lineman. I'm not saying all these signings were bad. What I'm saying is this is why they got the name Dream Team. They also, that year, made a couple of draft picks. First round, Danny Watkins. Fireman, Danny Watkins. But you know who else they drafted that year? They made a big mistake on the offensive line in the first round, but they made a pretty good decision on the offensive line in the sixth round. Jason Kelce. That was the year Jason Kelce was drafted. So every other move they made that year, we'll forgive them because they got us Jason Kelce. But I'm not saying all those moves were bad. I liked Cullen Jenkins. I liked Evan Mathis. It's just that it didn't work. They ended up going 8-8 that year. And Big Ben's asking on Twitter why they hated Babin. There was a few reasons why they hated Babin. But I remember just hearing a story because I think I was working down. Yeah, I was still working down there at the time. And I remember one of the things they hated too was in practice, the head slaps that he would give the offensive lineman when rushing the quarterback, how he would throw those head slaps. And it's like, look, dude, in a game, you want to do that to the opposing team, that's fine. But he would do shit in practice. I just cursed, but he would do stuff in practice that would really piss off his teammates. And it wasn't like, a Rudy type of thing where, he's just going hard in practice. Like he was like a dirty player, even in practice to his teammates, which is just, you don't do that. You don't do it. But anyway, I asked a question because I was asked this question this morning from a father at my daughter's school. Are you getting Dream Team vibes? So they sign all those players. They make some trades. They go 8-8 that year. And you look at the Philadelphia Eagles so far this season, new defensive coordinator. Now, I think Vic Fangio is a lot better than Juan Castillo. I think everybody would agree with that. Also a new offensive coordinator. And they bring in now edge rusher Bryce Huff, running back Saquon Barkley, defensive back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, linebacker Devin White, wide receiver Devontae Parker. You could also throw in linebacker Zach Bond and offensive lineman Matt Hennessy, but those guys don't have the names yet that these other guys have. So you bring in all these big names, all these hot names. Could we have another dream team on our hands? So I'm hoping not. I'm hoping with a better coaching staff, at least at the coordinator positions. And I see people keep asking about the linebackers, Jerome Baker. And I just don't know. He's 27, but is he really the answer? I don't know. I mean, he signs a 3-year deal in 2021 with the Dolphins, and then they ended up releasing him this year. I don't know. He finished the season on IR. Again, wouldn't he be kind of a question mark? And he was signed. Was he signed already? I see people saying he's signed. It's hard to keep up with all these damn names, man. Let's see. Jerome Baker. Did he sign yet? People are saying he signed with the Browns. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that he signed with the Browns yet. Did Jerome Baker sign with the Browns already? It's hard to keep track, man. It is hard to keep track of all these damn signings. The last thing I have is that he was scheduled to meet with the Titans. Do we know did Jerome Baker sign? I don't know if I think Jerome Baker's still available. But to me, it would be another question mark. But anyway, talking about all these signings, I'm hopeful that we're not going to have another dream team on our hands. And the reason that I think that we won't is because of the coordinators that we have in place. And I know that the 2011 Dream Team did have Andy Reid, but when you have Juan Castillo and you have that many misses, let's hope that Saquon Barkley isn't the next DeMarco Murray. Not that Murray was on that Dream Team, but I see some people saying, oh, DeMarco Murray. I don't get those vibes with him. I don't get him at all. And I see Big Ben saying he signed with the Browns, but then I got other people saying he didn't sign with the Browns. So I got to look that up when we get off the show. Looking at Josh Mullins, we should do what Seth Joyner says and get Devondre Campbell from Green Bay. Yeah, but why would Green Bay, why would they? Because they signed a lot of people. They got a lot of hopes of being a contender this year. Why would they cut him? Why would they cut Devondre Campbell? I mean, and look, he's 30 years old. But if you're the Green Bay Packers, they didn't have issues with their cap space. They made a big splash getting Xavier McKinney at safety. They made a splash getting Josh Jacobs at running back. So if they thought Devondre Campbell could help them, why would they cut him? That always makes me nervous. If somebody else is going to move on from a player who's a contender, why would they do that? Anyway, real quick, because we only have an hour, let's move on real quickly from the Eagles. Flyers lose last night, 6-2. Get absolutely blown out. Could have been worse. I think 2 goals were overturned in that game. I know a lot of people had a hard time watching it because it was on ESPN Plus, which is frustrating. But they lose 6-2. And this is tight. We talked about it yesterday. We want to see them make the playoffs. This is tough. And I see, hold on, real quick, back to the Eagles. I know everybody wants to talk Eagles. A.J. Dillon. I heard A.J. Dillon is going to stay in Green Bay, Mike. Because he was a name I liked, but I heard he's going to stay in Green Bay. Was that official yet? Yeah, the reports yesterday is he's going to sign a team-friendly deal to stay in Green Bay. That's a nice 1-2 punch for them with Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon. So, yeah, he did just sign. Yep.